Attention, bobsled riders! You will soon be embarking on a thrilling podcast down the icy slopes of the Matterhorn. So please remain seated, keeping your hands, arms, feet, and legs inside the bobsled at all times. Auf Wiedersehen!
Hello, yodelers! We are the Matterhorn Yodelers. I'm your host today, Jackie, and we have...
Chiefin!
And...
Obiwan! Hello there!
He did it!
He did it.
I almost forgot it. I was like, oh, I gotta come up with a name. What am I gonna... Well, we're doing Obi-Wan, so let's do Obi-Wan.
Yep.
Hello there.
Hello there.
Yep. Today we are going to be talking about the Star Wars Obi-Wan show.
This is the big show of the year for
Star Wars.
Yeah, so this is on streaming on Disney Plus.
Yep. All of it's out by now, so...
There will be spoilers, so before we go into spoilers, Peter, should they watch it?
Of course. I mean, if you're a Star Wars fan, you'll love it. It's good.
you're gonna get more.
If you're not a Star Wars fan, do you think you'll still enjoy it?
My brother-in-law is not a huge Star Wars fan, but I was watching it today to review for the show, and he was watching it because he'd seen the movies, and he recognized Obi-Wan. He saw
Darth
Vader, and so the story goes on. You know, you're like, what's going on? This is interesting, and so it builds upon what you know from the prequels, and it's interesting.
Yeah,
it's an in between of filling in that gap of what happens in the 19 years.
It's a movie quality show.
Production.
Yeah. Well, it was originally meant to be a movie.
Yeah.
That was the original idea behind it.
Boba Fett and Obi-Wan were told, like, they're going to get their own film. And
yeah.
then Solo came out, and the Star Wars fans threw a little baby fit.
Well,
and they got bit in the butt because Disney's like, oh, we're pulling all productions. And it was like, no.
Yeah.
And so there's this, like, unspoken thing now, or even is spoken, like, underground, where it's like, watch it and like it, and then bash it on YouTube.
Right.
So
Pretty
YouTube's
much.
got this bash fest.
It totally does.
I didn't
Absolutely
watch
does.
it for this show because I didn't want to ruin. I wanted like something pure going into this one.
Right.
Yeah, so we're going to be going into details about Obi-Wan, so this is for those who have watched it. So if you haven't, listen to any of our other episodes, or go watch the show, and
if you're not familiar with Obi-Wan, we actually did, a few weeks back, we did a whole episode about
Who is Obi-Wan?
Who is he?
What's
Yeah.
his backstory and things like that. So if you haven't listened to that one, go listen to that one.
And watch the prequel 3 movies. That kind of
Yes.
That
it's
sets
the
you
building
up.
blocks to everything of
Right.
this right here.
So, alright, let's get into the details of it. So, I wanted to kind of just touch on some pinpoints in certain episodes.
Can we start off with like what we start off with, which is Order 66? Of
Yeah, absolutely.
the killing of younglings.
I thought that was such like an interesting point of view when I was watching. I was like, why are they starting with Order 66 and the younglings? Like the most controversy, almost not appropriate.
To finish George's dream, which is to kill children in a movie.
Right.
Even they filmed it, and George and people were like, "George, you can't show that." Spielberg's crying in the corner, "No, not the children, no."
So they actually show more in detail of Order 66, which is really sad.
It
going
sucks
on
you
with the
in, you
children?
got
Oh, yeah.
lightsabers, and it's just boom.
I think that was a great place to start, honestly. I think it really gets you into the world. You're like, oh, we're getting into this, instead of all right, we're gonna ease our way. Look, there's the old man in the desert,
And he's chopping up sushi.
Right.
Oh, look at that knife cutting
No,
skills.
it was
This one's for me later. Oh, I'm just enthralled with Tatooine.
So
The
true.
Jawa stole my motherboard again. At least you could clean it for me this time.
Oh,
That
yeah.
costs extra. Well, I just summed up the first episode.
Yeah, that was pretty much the first episode.
Yeah, so it was a clever technique to and go into that because Tatooine is not the most entertaining thing
What
to
is
watch.
Star Wars' issue with starting in the middle of desert of nothing boringness?
Because they've already built up the set.
It's so much easier when you don't have to do anything. You put a couple houses and a
Right.
couple, like, what is it, hydrators,
Oh yeah. So yeah, I think it set the tone where it needed to be. Obviously, I didn't draw this connection. My wife connected the dots before I did, but like the little girl was the third sister. I
Yeah.
didn't draw that connection until way later on. I'm like, oh, that was her, and he goes, yeah, and I was all like, oh, I
It
feel.
was the reason why they started it out with Order 66.
It's to introduce one of the main characters.
Yeah, because the next kind of scene is you get to be introduced to the Inquisitors.
Right.
Which the Inquisitors killed Jedi.
Yeah, and you get introduced to them in Rebels.
But you get, like, this Inquisitor, the more more focused in this movie. She's brand new.
Yeah, I don't think
To the storyline.
we don't get the third sister in Rebels.
Anywhere else. Nope.
Yeah.
You see the Grand Inquisitor.
Which, everyone's like, they look different from,
He's got
like,
a different head shape.
and it's all like, yeah, so does, like, Count Dooku. Somebody, like, distorted their faces in real life, according to, like, Rebels and Clone
Yeah.
Wars, and you're like, okay, cool your jets, alright? Obi-Wan doesn't have a square beard.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, they had to glue the beard on to, like, Ewan McGregor. It's taken him 20 years to grow a decent beard.
Right. Very true. Very
Yeah,
true.
that's one thing that, like, fans are just very particular, and you're just like, calm down. Just
Yeah.
enjoy it. Yeah, so you get introduced to the Inquisitors that are hunting, and what were
They're
your...
not hunting. The Jedi are hunting themselves.
Oh, yes, that's it.
And I was like, it's true.
Yeah. They would hurt innocent people to draw Jedi out.
Pulling those strings, those
I mean,
strings.
that's what Darth Vader did, so...
Unless you get that one Jedi who's got like a dark humor, so like, yeah, you should poke him here, like.
I just watched, like, you just cut, like, 20 minutes before, and it's like, that guy was a total jerk to me, like, yeah, do it, yeah.
He only tipped me 5%.
Right.
He's such a cheapskate. That's when I called the Inquisitors.
I called the Inquisitors on him. Oh, that was good.
Then you also, in this first episode, you get introduced to kind of a current lifestyle of now Ben. Obi-Wan no longer exists. It is now Ben. Which, like Japheth said, he's cutting up meat and saving some for later.
He's really
He gives
sad.
he gave it to his camel, or
Yeah,
whatever.
it's his animal, yeah.
His ride.
Yes.
At least it's quieter than...
Then the yeah, a little quieter. I appreciate that. Yeah, I did appreciate that.
He checks in on... We see Luke.
Yeah.
Yes.
Luke is not a huge part into
No,
this.
it's story's not about him
Yeah,
directly.
Right.
And it's never about Obi-Wan.
Again. If you watched our prior episode about Obi-Wan's backstory is not about Obi-Wan, and neither was this show.
Yeah.
Maybe a small aspect. He does have a story arc, but it's not really about him
No.
per se. But we'll get more into detail about that later.
We get the foreshadowing early on with Owen and the third sister. Like, I'll hunt you down. And I was like, I watched that today and I was just like, oh, they foreshadowed it right there. Like, this is the last episode right here.
Yep. I thought it was interesting because you see two sides of Obi-Wan in especially like in this first episode. You got like the one side where it's all like, he must be trained. Luke must be trained.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
And then he's like, oh, Master Obi-Wan, come and help me. Get away.
Yeah.
No, just go and hide.
The Jedi are dead.
Like, it's like, wait, like, what's going on here? Like, where's
Yeah, that
and
was
you
really
see,
confusing.
You see his internal conflict.
So is this like a Luke Skywalker kind of conflict with Rey? You know?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, well, and Ben just kind of lost himself. You could just tell he doesn't know who he is. He's just kind of like, where am I?
Where does he fit in?
I mean, we talked about, like, he was raised in the Jedi, like, order, and now that's gone.
It's almost like a faith crisis in someone's
Yeah.
like religion, where they like, you know, it's gone for them, and they have to move on in regular life, and it's hard.
And you can draw a connection to Ahsoka, because
Yeah.
you see that with the last few episodes of the Clone Wars series that Disney came out with. You see that transition where Ahsoka goes from being a Jedi to just being a regular person, and you kind of see a lot of similarities there.
Yeah.
Where you just deal with that, like, I'm just gonna take it day by day, you know.
Yeah. Let's go into Leia. Little Leia. We get introduced to her.
She was cute.
She's adorable.
Can I bring up the point that she is 10 years old right now?
Yes.
Yeah.
So all the haters
She
out
does-
there,
yes.
everyone's like, because I first started, I was like, she doesn't look 10, but she is 10 years old right now. You know,
Like,
yes,
in
they
real
filmed it
life?
in real life.
Oh,
She's
yeah.
10 years old. Yes, I imagine when they filmed it a year ago or a year and a half, yeah, she's 8, but like, she's close enough. Everyone's
Right.
like, she's 5 years old. Or
She's
like,
not 5. Her maturity level was...
she's a good actress.
Yeah.
She was good. She had a lot of good mannerisms that reminded me of Carrie Fisher.
Yeah.
There were some like facial expressions, some glances, and I go, "That's Carrie Fisher right there." So
I thought
she did fantastic.
And there's a reason why they selected her to be young Leia.
She did a fantastic job through the entire series.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
enjoyed every scene that she was in.
Vivian Blair. Boom. You nailed it.
Yeah.
That's her name.
Oh, gotcha. I didn't know her name. So
I wrote down because there's like born 2012. And I'm like, there we go. She's 10. Shut up.
She gets kidnapped as a ploy.
Yeah, the Red Hot Chili Peppers, you know, jumped into the universe and Flea's like, I'm going to get mine. And then Needle's
Right.
all like, you chicken McFly.
yes, Needles showed up. Yes, that definitely kind of took me out for a minute seeing Needles show up. It was like, what?
I was like when I see Bill Burr in The Mandalorian, I'm all like, oh my gosh, he's going
Right.
to tell me jokes.
Yep. Same premise. Yep.
Yeah, so they steal Leia to draw Ben out.
It worked.
It worked.
Okay, how do you guys like the running through the forest scene with Leia? Where it kind of took me out. I thought it was a little too cheesy. It's like
Yes.
Home Alone 3, where you're like, okay, it's not working for me.
Right. It's like, no, she would not be doing this well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep, she gets kidnapped. Ben's on the adventure to try to save her, but not really use his Jedi powers and whatnot. Which I thought was interesting. He dressed exactly like a Jedi.
Exactly. It's
And, like,
It's like,
it's a
I'm
different
gonna hide
tone.
myself like I used to hide with the cloak over my
And
head.
he was not shy with flashing his lightsaber.
It was not hidden very well.
There was a cool scene when he goes to Dio, and you see like the stormtrooper like veteran.
Oh,
like
yeah.
that's the
Oh,
homeless.
yes.
And you know he's part of the
absolutely.
501st because of like
His armor.
His armor. So you know he worked with him at one point or another.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of like, does he recognize him? It's been 10 years. These clones age quickly, so you don't know like what type of PTSD or like dementia
He even can
effects.
see. It
he
looked
can
like he
even
was
see.
almost blind.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was sad, and you could see like Obi-Wan like feel like because they were band of brothers,
Right.
Right.
You know, even though they're all the same and they came from a tube, like
Well, I mean,
they cared for them. and-
we kind of talked about this in our last episode. Obi-Wan was pretty much in charge of the entire Republic army. Like, he was in charge of the main fleet. That was his job.
Yeah, and there's like a internal battle. He sees, his, at one point brother, co-fighter, and then they turned against him, and he probably doesn't know the logistics of why they turned against him.
Yeah,
and
he
the
does.
Jedis.
He learned. Like,
Did he learn?
About the inhibitor chips inside their brains. I don't know.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
Ahsoka learns,
Yes.
and that's how we get Captain Rex in Return of the Jedi.
Yes.
But I don't know if Obi-Wan...
I forgot about that, yes.
But
the
I
one
don't-
old man that makes it in there, and he's like, "My role is so much bigger than what I thought. I'm Captain Rex."
Right.
Yeah. So I don't think Obi-Wan really knows about the reason.
Well, I imagine he doesn't because there's other information that he does not know as well, which we'll get into.
Yeah.
But then he runs into what's his name? The faker.
The Khan Jedi.
The Khan
Haja Astray.
I loved
Haja.
him.
He was great.
He was so great.
He was
He
fun.
was like a con man. He was almost like a solo character, like trying to make
a
money
hustler,
for
yeah.
himself, but also had a heart to help save others.
Yeah, those are definitely not magnets.
Yeah, so those really, they meet each other, and that's how they were able to kind of get Leia out of the capture.
Oh, there was a cameo there when Obi-Wan gets into town. You see the girl with pink hair selling
Oh,
drugs.
yeah.
Oh, yes.
That is Ewan McGregor's daughter.
Yes.
Which is cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, I did.
every
find
dad's
that
dream to have her daughter,
Selling drugs.
a spice dealer.
Yeah.
Right. And so
Ooh,
you
what a
wanna-
death stick! I want to rethink your life. Go back to your mother.
In this episode, you actually see Ben or Obi-Wan use Force for like the first time, probably in like 10 years.
It's an indication to show that he's not the same fighter that he once was.
Oh yeah, that was scary.
Like,
You know it was gonna work. I mean,
he made it to episode 4, so we knew he wasn't gonna die. And he's we're episode 2 at this point.
yeah.
And it's a show named after him. I'm pretty sure he's going to make it to the last episode.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But, like, it was cool to see. It was... And a lot of people are upset, like, oh, he's super weak and things like that. But, like, if you're in hiding and your force powers give you away and everyone's looking for you, yeah, you're not going to connect with the force. You're not going to use it because if you use it, every time you use it, you put a target on your back.
Yeah.
And he's trying to lay low so that he can protect Luke.
You see them out in the deserts, like doing wind, like force pushes, and they're like, "There's crazy Ben over there."
It was some weird
He's like,
dances.
I just think of like Mr. Burns when he's on drugs and like he's an alien. He's just like,
You see him in episode 4 when he's chasing off the Tusken Raiders. Yes. That's it. That's the noise. I was trying to remember what's the noise that they use now.
you guys like the third sister when she's like skulking about on the top of the roof? I'm like, boy, you couldn't get any more Batman than that. And then she's like going across
Yes.
the roof like she's like some animal. And I was like, boy, we were watching Dark Knight or something right there.
Yeah, it was hard for me to connect with the third sister. I don't know if the writer did her justice. And
There were some cheesy lines that she
There was
was
some
pulling.
really-
I think they should have
cheesy.
done a little better job when it came to writing her story arc.
Yeah.
Because, like, I didn't get her story arc until they literally laid it all out in front of us on, like, the last episode. last episode.
So you didn't pick up the
Yeah.
Anakin, like when she gives like about say
I
Anakin.
didn't get that she was seeking revenge.
Oh, I didn't. The revenge thing I didn't understand. I didn't pick up on.
Like, I
But
wish there
when
was
she
a little
said,
bit
like Anakin,
is alive.
is alive, and like that's when I know it's like, well, she obviously knew who Anakin was because Thrawn, like in his series, he knows Darth Vader's Anakin, but nobody else knows that.
Yeah.
And like Thrawn just knew that from just his observations because he's Thrawn. He's amazing.
But I think, like, her knowing Anakin's name doesn't, for, like, the average, like, nonchalant Star Wars fan would not put 2 and 2
Yeah,
together.
Grogu knows, probably.
Right. And so, but we do get a key moment where Obi-Wan realizes Anakin is alive.
Oh, that was huge.
Which is so cool, because I was like, yeah, he doesn't know that Anakin's
Because
alive.
he was all like, I'm just going to leave you.
I'm gonna leave you.
He was on fire.
He was
Honestly-
on fire, he was gonna
You gotta show some
float in
sympathy
lava.
and be like, here, let me just throw you in.
That would have. That's the part. That's the George Lucas edition where he's like, and here you go. He's like, ah! He's like booing in the lava, going, it's hot, it's hot. And you see the Emperor like fishing. He's like fishing. And he like hooks him on the lip, and he's like Bulldog's like, I got myself a big scissor right here. That's the like robot chicken version I want to see.
Right.
Oh gosh, yeah. So, but you see Obi-Wan's reaction of realizing that Anakin's still alive, and I think there's like relief that he's alive, but also like fear,
Yeah.
because you're just like, oh,
He's angry.
what did I create?
And that's kind of the only big story arc you kind of get with Obi-Wan is him dealing with him training the evil Sith Lord.
Yeah.
That's pretty much his story arc, is him dealing with the fact that he trained.
He screwed up the chosen one.
Right.
You were the chosen one. I screwed up. It's all my fault. My thought when I saw like they introduced Darth Vader in the Bacta tank,
Yeah.
I was just like, oh great, okay, now I know all I want is the last episode. That was all I knew at that point, because I knew it was like, it's not going to be enough for Obi-Wan to fight the third sister. I was like, nah, no, I want Darth Vader.
Yeah.
And so that's when I was like,
You-
okay, the last episode is
knew.
all I really want, and it's the big one. It's like you're eating an Italian restaurant, like, oh yeah, Italian food's good. And you're like, then like the Cheesecake Factory like cart comes around, and you're like, I want that. I know I've been eating breadsticks and I'll eat some pasta, but I want that now. And so that's what it was. I saw the cheesecake in that part, and I'm
Right.
eating breadsticks at Olive Garden. I'm like, I'm
As
ready
soon
for
as
that
you know
now.
Darth Vader's in it, you're like, well, that would be a waste of an opportunity not to have them interact.
Yeah, you're going to
Right.
outrage an organization. Let's throw in this character and not use them at all.
Yeah.
Unless you throw Jar Jar Big like, Me's a Jedi Sith! Me's to fight you, Obi-Wan! Then I'll be like, yes, you've done it. my Darth Vader, like, helmet with tinfoil has been completed right there.
Right.
So we're talking about the theory of, like, Jar Jar Binks isn't actually a Sith Lord, and it was all orchestrated by him.
Yeah, he's the mastermind.
Yeah.
Not Palpatine. It was Jar Jar the whole time.
Maybe Palpatine was looking at Jar Jar Binks and like, oh, maybe you'll be my Sith. And then he's like, no, you're too annoying.
Yeah.
He
Me's to lick your face from 6 feet away!
uses like Jedi powers with his tongue.
You got the waving that guy, and then Jar Jar Binks got. He's like in meditation, and his tongue's just waving through the air. Oh gosh!
All right, third episode.
Darth Vader's suit. You see the mechanics of
Yeah.
You
it,
see how it works, yeah.
and you're like, "Jeez, it was intense."
Yeah.
It was like
Painful,
watching
too.
like the Power Ranger robot come together at that moment. Go Power Ranger, or go Darth Vader.
Right, yeah. It looked painful. You just see those sticks just go right into his body, and you're like, oh. I had a physical movement when that happened. I was like, oh.
Yeah.
Well, to think about it, is like he was basically dead. So,
He's barely alive as,
Yeah.
as is.
yeah. So, you know, Obi-Wan and Leia, they're on the ship. They land on a desert planet to get picked up to another rescue.
Mining planet.
Yeah, they're on a mining planet.
I like that little guy that's like
The
guy
like
that picks him
tentacle
up. Yeah, they did a
thing?
good job
Yeah,
with
he was
like
Yeah.
the alien face. Better than the raptor, assassin in the
Wasn't
previous
that, I heard
episode.
that was Zach Braff?
Yes,
Zach
something.
Burns?
Yeah,
Something like that.
They have fun sticking
like
Random-
random people. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, you want to be in? Okay, we're gonna cover your face.
We're gonna cover your face,
Because
distort your
you're
voice.
too well
Except for you,
known.
Flea. I know
Right.
you've been in like Back to the Future and you're part of one of the biggest rock bands of all time, but sure, all right.
Now there's the one scene where they're stuck at the gate and they can't get around, but like there's some controversy about it because there's one
We
side
can't
of the
get through the gate.
There's one side of the gate that you can just walk around.
We can't get past. We have to turn it off.
There's
He's
a
really
bush.
rusty in his critical thinking. It's like when you're in the desert, you just like all the open space in the world.
Right.
Yeah,
There's
that
just
was-
this random outpost with just these two poles there. It's all like, yep, you can't walk around. It's impossible. Nope, this is solid security here.
Yeah, the set design probably was not the best there. We get then
Well, we get a backstory on Obi-Wan.
yes.
And on that little transport, we learn that Obi-Wan had a brother.
Yes, we get more about his time and oh boy, I don't even know his like home planet. Did I even save it here?
You might have said.
I gotta look at my notes.
You did. You mentioned it.
What's his name of his planet? We'll continue on and I'll throw it in.
But yeah, it was kind of cool to have him kind of talk about the memories that he once had.
Yeah, Stu John. That's
Stu
what it is.
John, yes.
George Lucas did that before all the other planets and there. So yes, his days at Stu John.
Yes. And so, yeah, it was cool to get a little bit more backstory on Obi-Wan.
Obi-Wan.
And
He's got the
who
brother.
knows, maybe
Obi 2 was there.
Obi 2 might make an appearance here in a future series, you know?
Yeah, in the third episode, we also get kind of a big introduction to, like, the very start of the rebellion. Or it's not so much a rebellion, but, like...
It's kind of like the Underground Railroad.
I would say so. Yeah, the
Yeah.
Underground Railroad didn't like change, the current situation, but it facilitated the help to who needed it.
Yeah, and basically this was to save young...
Force-sensitive people.
Because
Yeah.
they were going for them all.
Yeah.
Kind of like Minority Report kind of situation.
You get also introduced to Tala, which I enjoyed her.
She was a good character.
She was a great character. She worked for the Empire, but
She saw some bad things.
she
and
saw
she's
terrible
That's
things.
a theme that they bring into Disney's, canon is like
the defection.
the defection of those who join and they're like, no, I didn't join for this.
Right.
Yeah, I thought this was for the greater good, but you're killing innocent people.
Yeah. I didn't sign up for that. Yeah, so that was good. And it just brings in more Game of Thrones characters
Oh, yes.
into the universe.
Yes, it does.
They mention a Jedi, Quinlan,
Quinlan? Yes.
which I had to look him up. He's a video game Jedi.
He's also in Clone Wars.
Is he? Okay.
Yes. He's kind of like a rebellious Jedi. Kind of like an attitude, kind of like Anakin.
Mm-hmm.
Is he the one with dreads?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he has a love affair with
Asajj.
Asajj. They have a
Asajj
whole
Ventress.
book about it.
Yep.
And
They
it was
end up
supposed to
getting
be.
married.
It was supposed to be. Yeah, they get married and then she dies. And sorry, spoiler on that book. That's why you don't see her beyond
What?
that.
A Sith lady died
Yeah.
after the Clone Wars?
It was a
What?
good book. I really enjoyed it. That was probably a top 5 book that came out like in the first few years that they did. So
Yeah, that's a deep cut Easter egg for fans.
Yeah.
Was that little name drop?
because he with that book he leaves the Jedi
Yes.
because they wanted him and a synopsis of that, they wanted him to go undercover and be trained as like Dooku's apprentice.
Right. Because he had a history of being a very rebellious
Yeah.
person,
He's kind of that gray.
cocky person.
Yeah. So I thought that was interesting. They threw that character in. Then, of course, you're in the mining town, and Darth Vader finds out that they're there, And, Darth Vader's, like, dragging innocent people on the ground to draw
See the
Obi-Wan.
ruthlessness
Yeah.
of Darth Vader. That, like, he does not care. He will kill and torture anyone just to get to Obi-Wan.
Yeah, it's a utilitarian like mindset of like suffer the few for the many, and like the many is for the Empire's galaxy and stuff like that.
And then, of course, it leads into the first lightsaber fight.
Yeah.
This is the first time Obi-Wan
uses his
his lightsaber, and it's against Darth Vader.
And he does horrible.
It's bad.
It was rough.
It was bad on both parts. But I was like,
Well, I think Darth Vader, he was toying with him. Once he saw that
He's
he
like, "You're
didn't
not a
have it in him,
competition."
he's all like, just
Yeah.
knocking him around, just like, you are nothing.
Let me-
I'm gonna torture you.
You've tortured me the last 10 years of being in this body, and now I'm going to just toy with you.
That was kind of the message that I
Yeah.
got. That was like, this is like a spiteful thing. I'm not gonna kill you. I'm gonna torture you.
And
I mean, and he starts a fire to try to burn
he
Obi-Wan.
drags him through, and I'm like,
Yeah.
that's ruthless. But then, like, my question right there is, why did he stop? Like, was it just because he was gonna was it just purely for torture? Or could he gone John Wick and just, like, killed him before the mid-sentence of, like...
I think he wanted a better fight.
I don't think so. I don't think that's what he wanted.
I really want to know, like what was your, like, thought of...
I
like, in that moment, it's like, he could have crushed them,
He
like...
could have killed him easily.
easily.
Well, I don't think he wanted to kill him. I don't think that's what his intention was. He wanted to capture Obi-Wan. He wanted him alive. That's why he always told him, says, like, I will take Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
I will. Do not touch him because I know you're just going to kill him.
Yeah.
I will take him because I want the pleasure. I want to do it.
I want to torture
Do you think you want to bring him back to his lair and just, like,
Oh,
torture him?
yes. Absolutely.
Okay, so that's where it is.
I think that's 100% what it was, is that he wanted to torture him and put him through the most miserable pain that he possibly could to break him even more.
Maybe, yeah.
That's what my vibe was. When I said, like, oh, I'm going to do what you did to me.
And there's and my other thought was like, was there? And you don't get this inner dialogue of like, did Anakin come out? Because there's still good in him. I can feel it. And like with Luke always saying that, was there an Anakin moment of like hesitation?
I think so. Absolutely. I think there
You
was.
think that? I didn't know, and that's what like really threw me. Is all like, did they nerf this kind of like toying with him because he had that doubt?
Because you first see Obi-Wan, your master, in so many years. There's still that little compassion there.
I think anger
don't
at
know.
first.
I think.
But when you have him on the ring and you're like,
Am I ready to kill him?
am I ready?
I don't know.
It's hard to say.
I think he was pretty well committed to it. I don't know.
The things we'll never know.
And that was like when I walked away from, I was like, I don't know about this. And like, I was like, I'm going to walk away from this one and just like, I know we're going to have a huge grand fight and
Right.
Obi-Wan is
Yeah.
going to win. I mean, that's the problem when you already know.
The ending.
That was the
Characters.
issue with the prequels to begin with, was
So.
that you knew how it was going to end, and so nobody was excited for the end result because you already knew what was going to happen.
I felt like this too with this, like, oh, I'm getting this kind of feeling, but I'm along for the ride. Let me see how they can cinematographically like depict this.
Yeah. At the end, Leia gets captured again by the third sister.
Yeah.
Shocker.
She took on the role of Obi-Wan.
Obi-Wan
Yeah.
getting captured.
I think, what was this, number 2 or 3? 2?
2?
Number 2?
This is number
Capture
two.
number 2?
Yeah. So then they're on another journey to try to save her. They go undercover.
To the fortress.
Yes, the fortress, which they're like, why?
What is it? The Inquisitorium, something like that?
Yeah, it's like a moon near like
Yeah.
Vader's.
Mustafar.
Near Mustafar, yeah.
And like it wasn't very hard, like guarded, but it's just like
They
why?
made it a point, is like, it's not very well defended because nobody in their right mind would ever
go there.
go there.
and you think, what's there? Why are they there? And we find
It's a
out
water planet, yeah.
there's a bunch of dead Jedis. It's a tomb.
Yes.
It's a trophy room.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That was probably... You
That's
saw Obi-Wan, and I
hard.
was all like, you could just feel like he just had that pain of like, these are my siblings.
These are people I know.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the last one is a little Padawan, which you're just like, oh.
Yeah, that pulled the heartstrings right there. He's like, I need a diversion. I can't do this right now.
Yeah. Of course, they save Leia. You know, I don't know. This episode, beginning was just like meh to me.
Yeah, when I came upon this
I
one again
loved
watching...
the interaction between Third Sister and Leia. I love the interrogation.
Yeah, that's true.
That was a very fun scene where, like, Leia's trying to manipulate the Third Sister, and the Third Sister's all like,
Please.
Yeah.
Your
So,
Jedi
like,
mind
I'll
trick
tell
on.
you everything. I just gotta talk to my dad first. No.
That's true. You get more Leia's side of, like, her negotiation and, like...
She's tough.
She's got mental ability to read people's minds
Yeah.
and their intentions, and you saw that in the first episode when she like totally like mind wrecked her cousin.
Right.
And do you think that's just because she's kind of using the Force?
Yeah.
She is totally using the Force.
Absolutely. She's
Yeah.
100% Force sensitive. I mean, I think it was even mentioned that, like, if properly trained, she would have been more powerful than Luke.
Yeah.
And George Lucas said like the story is really about Princess Leia and the whole like thing. That's what he wanted the hero or the heroine to be, Princess Leia, not about Luke.
There was one scene, I can't remember exactly, but, like, it was when Obi-Wan was talking about, like, Force-sensitive kids and stuff, and you could just tell there was some fear, because I think she could feel that she was Force-sensitive.
Different.
Right.
How does it feel? Well, when you get of a certain age.
Yeah.
I thought it was funny on their escape that they did the whole, like, trench coat, four-legged trench coat.
No one will pay attention. Act like you belong.
The four-legged trench coat. That was just like, really? That's how you're gonna walk out of the Inquisitor's base? It's
How
just
they
like
escaped, you just wanted to press that was easy.
I know. Like, they had that whole, like, heartfelt moment about the one pilot that died, but, like, you're just left going, like, well, I didn't know the pilot, so I don't care.
I think the whole pilot dying, it was because it was kind of like the start of the rebellion.
Every loss was like
Every
critical.
loss was critical, so when you saw that, it was just like, it hit hard.
Sure.
Unlike when we got to, like, in the future with, like, Luke, Han, Leia, like...
The Hoth battle, you're like, yeah, we'll recover.
They lost so many people, and so it just kind of showed how raw the rebellion was at that time.
infantile in that way. I love seeing the speeders. That was kind of cool.
That was cool to see this.
I was like, cool. I don't have to use them in the snow scenes. Like, they're not just snow speeders.
Yeah.
They could be water speeders too.
Yeah. Anything else we want to talk about in that episode? I think we kind of...
Well, I mean, you got the whole, like,
The
Vader
stormtrooper.
freaking out on Third Sister, about to kill her.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It shows that impatience that his character is seen in Empire Strikes Back, where it's like, I will choke
Yes,
anybody
because
that fails me.
we've been given flashbacks on Attack of the Clones era.
Yeah.
Pre-Attack of the Clones.
That's the next episode.
Is it the
Yeah,
next
that's
episode?
the next
episode,
Okay,
yeah.
well then let's
Yeah.
get into it. We got
All right. Yeah.
Let's get into Flash Pants.
The first thing. All right, flashbacks. All right, it's training session.
How'd you guys feel of seeing them older, but they're supposed to be younger?
It's
just
one
like,
of-
It was weird to see Obi-Wan's beard as Attack of the Clones beard.
yeah, where they like glue it on.
It's-
And then Anakin's like, you're just waiting for him to be like putting a cigarette in his mouth, like, I'm young again. Like, I don't know, those eyes are telling a different story now.
Right,
It's
like-
one of those things. Like, I understand, but I'm just
some
gonna.
CGI.
I'm
Come
just
on.
gonna close one eye and squint the other.
like, you could have done a little bit more CGI on that face.
You totally redid like
Luke
Luke Skywalker. You can't do it.
The
You,
budget.
you can't clean the wrinkles out of his eye. I mean,
Yeah.
is that far out of the budget?
Just throw in a single line of like, I hate sand.
But you also, so you get introduced the training session between Obi-Wan and Anakin and kind of see the
it's
fault.
They do it sporadically
Yeah.
through it, like they progress along the story to get to that culminating point
right.
of the lesson learned of that sparring lesson.
It's the setup, the fact that he never learned his lesson,
Yeah.
basically.
Let's talk about Obi-Wan and Third Sisters talking through the wall.
That was a good scene.
That was a good scene. I enjoyed that of just like, oh, let's work together. And she's so bitter. And she's like, no.
Where were you? Like, you left us.
Yeah,
Right.
because
Well, Yoda told me to run. Master Yoda has higher rank, and his midichlorian count is like triple mine, alright?
And he said Qui-Gon was going to help me. And I can't
He hasn't shown up yet! It's old, man! He just seemed like, I hate it! There's no instructions on how to go on beyond the Jedi! You just see Third Sister doing the like yakety yak with her hands, like, oh, I feel so bad for you.
They gave Leia a task to do, otherwise she would have been absolutely pointless in the
She
episode.
would have
yeah,
been just pointless throughout the
basically.
rest of the show, like, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's like, oh, she's small, so she can fit in the wrench.
she's gonna fix some technical stuff that she probably has no idea how to do.
Yeah, no. Just find the red cable and put it here.
All right.
There's 20 red cables! Get to work.
Yeah. But then Obi-Wan uses the Third Sister as an advantage to get
Did
to...
he use her? I mean,
I
that's
think
the
so.
spin that Vader used. He just finds out she's going to do what she's going to do.
Right.
I think so.
I don't think he's manipulative like that.
I don't think so. I think this was her plan the whole time, and she took this as her opportunity
She just needed to get close enough.
where she would have been able to do, to strike at him.
Without anyone else.
Which he tosses her around like she's nothing.
Oh, that was so awesome.
Just to see
I
her just,
enjoyed that fight. Because, she doesn't have too much training.
I mean, he's 10 years of learning because the Inquisitor, Grand Inquisitor, he was a training person. He was good at his swordsmanship, but he's not a Jedi.
Right.
So she's learned techniques, and she has that Kylo Ren read minds capability,
Yeah.
and she knows how to push and pull and all that with the Force.
She's no master of the Force.
No, she's not. I mean, her midichlorian count. Come on, let's not kid ourselves. Like, the Chosen One was right there. Even though he lost some limbs there, he's well beyond her. But
Yeah, that was definitely like a satisfying fight for Vader.
that was a Vader capability. I love anytime you get to see Vader's capabilities, like
Oh,
Rogue
yes.
One, where he's all like, "I'll hold you here, and I'm gonna slash these people, and then I'll come back and cut you."
Right.
As a fan of Vader, and see, that's what you want whenever Vader comes on the screen, is to show how awesome he is.
Right.
And that
Which
was
I
it.
want to say this about Vader. This has been the best post-original series Vader.
You didn't like punny Rogue One
Well, the
dad joke?
I did not.
Don't choke on your aspiration.
I did not like Punny Vader. That's not a secret. I hated Punny Vader. That one, when that happened, I was like cringing. I'm like,
You
what?
took me out of the movie.
You took me out.
And
Why
it's one of the good Star Wars movies, Rogue
Oh,
One.
agree, absolutely.
Yeah.
But that one part, I was like, But like, he even in that movie, like I know, like James Earl Jones did the voice for that movie, but it didn't sound right. James Earl Jones did not do any voiceover work for Obi-Wan. And it sounded just like the
It was
original
good.
series. It sounded spot on. I
You
felt
could
like I was
you could hear
watching.
Mufasa's voice in there.
I felt like I was watching. This was
his
Vader.
voice.
It's all computer.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Because he was in the credits and...
Yeah, well, because they used his voice, but James Earl Jones did no recordings for the show.
He's pretty old.
Yeah.
Yes. Like,
Interesting.
yeah, they have the catalog, and it's amazing what you can do.
There was the one scene where Darth Vader pulls the ship down.
That's part of the lesson.
The fake
of,
out.
like, the
fake out. I thought that was cool. Like, when that showed out, like, both myself and Mark were like, whoa! Like, Darth Vader, like, showing off his cool skills.
That was
I'm
a
gonna
good moment.
shred this shrimp.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
ripping it out like, I am so mad right now. I
It's
want
like,
you.
I'm gonna get you right now. This is it. And then
Stop playing
And then
games
this
with
ship
me.
that like you never saw anywhere else
Yeah.
just appears out of nowhere, like whoop!
It's hiding behind the other one.
And you see that depiction in the fight of, like, you know, the flashback of Obi-Wan and Anakin fighting.
Yes.
I like that episode. It was good. It kind of made up for number 4, where you're just like, oh, we're in this, like, lull
Transition.
transition between the
It's a
fight.
filler episode.
Yeah. What about the Inquisitor third sister getting stabbed and still alive?
How
What are
she
your
was
thoughts?
used by the, you know, Darth Vader and the Inquisitor.
Right.
You know, like, we needed a hungry dog, and you were that person.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay. I was like, oh, he's alive! And I was like, of course he's alive. I saw him in Rebels. Like,
Right.
Yeah.
Anyone that had seen Rebels knew that that's not his death because you see his death later on, and so it's like, that's one of those things that gets kind of like spoiled for those who do watch all the content, but it's cool for those that don't.
Then you have to wait, like, well, how are they going to do it? And they didn't explain it.
No,
Like,
they
they
just
play
are
the
like
magic trick off.
revenge is a thing.
Oh, he goes. Revenge does wonder for the will to live.
Right.
I liked it.
It's
I
a
wrote
good
it
line.
down. It was really good.
It was a good line, but the fact that like she lived was kind of like,
Yeah, the whole,
Okay.
like, no,
I was-
just
I
carry
was-
my wound. It's like,
Right.
we've seen people, like...
Qui-Gon just got stabbed and he didn't like it, you
Yeah.
know? Like, I don't know, like, people getting
Well,
stabbed used to
maybe
be...
it was because the revenge makes a wonder to do.
I don't know. It was
but-
like, you got stabbed with a lightsaber, you're dead. That's just
Yeah.
always been the...
Yeah,
Well,
I was like,
They could have left
They-
her dead
they
there
could have
anyways, and I
left
would have
her
been
dead,
satisfied
yeah.
and just go on to just, like...
moving
I know they're
on.
trying to keep him for the Luke, like, how do we bring Luke into the story? Besides
Right.
Owen going, like, leave him alone! You sucked! Obi-Wan!
Oh, you want to train him? Like your father? There's a YouTube...
Here's some salt for that wound.
It's funny, because I showed you, before we started, I showed him this YouTube clip of this comedian who does a really good Obi-Wan impersonation. There's another one where, like, you have that scene with, like, Owen, he's like, oh, you're gonna train him? Like you trained Obi-Wan? And he's all like, oh,
Like
like
Anakin, right? Like you train Anakin. Because you said, like, oh, train him like Obi-Wan.
Oh, sorry, yeah, train him like Anakin. And he's all like, he says, yes, Lars could surely, you know, like something along the lines of, like, he knows how to throw out some burns, but he doesn't know how to stop them from happening.
Oh, wait, that's some foreshadowing right there.
All right, we're in the last episode. There's a lot of stuff that happened. You get more.
Obi-Wan
Everyone
breaks
splits from
away.
the group.
Yeah,
Leia has no more purpose for the show, so she leaves.
yeah. Leia's done.
She gets home.
She gets home. Yeah. You get introduced to Luke.
You see him in the first episode.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I guess you're not introduced.
But then they do that whole... I kept, like, wanting to skip those scenes. Like, just get me to Vader.
Right.
It was just filler for me.
There was one part of the scene where they were prepping to protect Luke. What was it?
Baru
Baru
and
and Baru and Lars.
And yes.
They should have showed them drinking. Like, let's do this. And they have, like, blue milk. And it's, like, splashed
I
in
don't
there.
know.
Let's go.
And, like, they had a fight in them, which just kind of made me think, like, at the end of their life, they probably fought hard to survive. Because
They're fighters.
they're fighters.
Well-
And so,
Desert life.
yeah.
I mean, they're used to Tusken Raiders, so
And we watched Boba Fett.
Yeah.
They're not easy, to deal with.
So you got a little bit, you got to know the aunt and the uncle of Luke a lot more, which...
that was good.
It was good to see the original characters.
Yes,
actors
the
play
original actors from Revenge of the
Yeah.
Sith came back to play Aunt Beru and Uncle Owen.
So I thought that was really good. Of course, you have the epic duel with Obi-Wan Vader.
What did I write in here? Lightsaber fights to throwing rocks. That's what I put for my line.
Yes. There's a lot of rock throwing in this fight, but it was a good fight.
It was a great lightsaber fight.
It was, Obi-Wan has come back to his peak, his connection with the Force.
I think I get to that when he's fighting the stormtroopers in that water tunnel when they're escaping. That was the moment I was like, oh, he's back.
Yeah.
But I still like his emphasis like, oh, there's the panel. Let me overemphasize by throwing my lightsaber to baseball that light, or that laser to hit that panel. And it's like, okay.
Yeah. Of course, you have the fight, and you also have Obi-Wan trying to communicate with Vader, like, I'm sorry I failed you.
Oh, that's towards the end when, he gets, Vader, was it Ben or Obi-Wan gets piled on by rocks?
Yeah.
Yes. And
Vader's like, oh,
job well done. It's like,
I walked away.
He's the guy that doesn't finish he doesn't check the last page of the test. He's like, 100%. And they're like, dude, you missed 5 questions back here. And they're worth half the test. Dang it!
These are the essay portion. Oh, no.
Well, he just did what Obi-Wan did in the third movie. Didn't check.
I think Obi-Wan couldn't kill him in the first movie.
I think that's good.
I mean, he's like, you're my brother, I love you. And it's still so fresh, this turn.
Well, maybe it was the same for Darth Vader.
No.
And that's what my debate was as the third episode, did he still feel it? But then it's all like...
No, I think at that point he had accepted the fact that,
Anakin
was dead.
Yeah.
Because that's what he tells Luke.
Yeah.
It was perfect. He goes, you didn't kill Anakin. I did.
Oh, I love that line.
It solidifies what was said in Empire Strikes Back.
It gives Obi-Wan the closure he needs to move on.
I loved how they, Obi-Wan destroyed part of the mask or whatnot, and you can actually see Anakin, and his voice would go in and out as Darth Vader and Anakin. I thought that they did such a good job with that, just to connect both of the characters.
See, I enjoyed it, but I had seen it already.
Correct.
And that's what kind of threw me. I was like, really?
We're doing the same thing again.
With
Except the
Ahsoka.
opposite side of his mask.
Yes.
It's the other side.
Oh, yeah. It's Ahsoka had the same conversation.
Yes.
And one of the best, lightsaber fights, I think, in the Star Wars canon, between Ahsoka and Darth Vader.
Yes.
I thought that was,
that was
top
fantastic.
5 for sure, easily. And... same kind of thing.
It was a repeat of what we had seen with Ahsoka, for sure.
So I thought Dave Filoni did a little copy and paste on that one. And I liked it too. And I think they wanted to share that kind of great moment.
For those who
weren't going to watch
that
it.
don't want to watch Rebels and watch some of the silly episodes that happen in that show.
We stole a little transport.
Yeah. And then you get to the end of the show and you're like, we're in deep doctrine right
here.
We're doing time travel.
So the world between worlds.
Yeah.
And oh yeah.
The deep Star Wars theory.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was good for the Star Wars fans, and like you said, I love the moments of in between, Vader's voice comes out and you hear Anakin, and it was so good to have Christian Hayden in there.
Yes,
absolutely. He was so good in playing Vader.
Yeah,
in that moment, you could see it. I wish they threw in the red eyes once in a while, where it's you see Anakin, and then the red eyes come. It's I hate you. Yeah. I killed him. Remember that. That's what I wish they threw those Sith eyes in there.
I liked at the end when, Obi-Wan walks away from him and he says, goodbye, Darth. And that was the moment when he's like, Anakin's gone. And, he calls him bye, Darth.
It was good.
Yeah.
I don't think we'll get, a season 2 with Darth Vader anymore.
You don't think so?
Not like this.
No, I think that was the final battle between Obi-Wan and Darth Vader.
There's a lot of talk that we might get a season 2.
I mean, I always want to hold on to the when I left you, you were the master, but now I am, and it's just that was a good one to end on for beating him up and showing him yeah, I was weak, but I totally went Jesus Christ, throwing rocks, when he stuck his arms out with his lightsabers and the rocks are coming down, you're just geez, I was seeing internet Jesus right there for a moment. That there's a meme that I want to refer to, they're post this you know, to show that you're a true believer of Christ, and it's a picture of Obi-Wan.
Yes.
From
Yeah. So we then go back to Tatooine, where we all started, and the third
Where all things
sister.
begin and all things end.
where you bury your lightsabers and
With the third sister, she's going after Luke for some reason, because there's some sort of connection.
I'm mad. Obi-Wan tricked me.
Yeah.
Right. I'm gonna go kill a little boy now, which then she has that moment.
She has a heart.
Am I the monster that I've been hunting?
Right.
Mhm.
Which, you know, they did the clever thing where Luke knocks himself out before he sees a lightsaber for the first time. So that canon can say that he never really have seen a lightsaber prior to.
You didn't want to bring the frozen trolls out here?
Right.
The mind is easier changed than the heart.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
I watch Frozen a lot with my daughter.
And then at the end, Obi-Wan visits Leia as kind of, I think, a last goodbye.
I think they're done with that.
I think they're done with Leia.
Even though I love the little girl in the
She
role.
did a fantastic job. Hey, Leia could have her own show.
They could.
No,
There's
absolutely.
a great Leia book talking about her younger age and becoming, like, joining the Senate group. And I would recommend it if you have that little girl that is a Star Wars fan and wants a, like, good, like, inspirational hero. Like, hey, this is, you know, the heroes are not born overnight.
Yeah.
You know, they're grown and produced, and it really tells her story. And it shows, like, Admiral Hodo, like, you know. Yeah. The Hodo. The
Hodo
method.
maneuver.
Yeah, maneuver.
Yeah.
One in a million shot. No. They introduced some characters, and it's, I really recommend that book.
Yeah. So I like the one scene where Obi-Wan is explaining to Leia characteristics of her parents, which it pulls the heartstrings.
The one where they were in the transporters, like, are you my dad? And he's
Yes,
like,
I wish I were. I
Yeah.
wish I were. You don't want to know your dad.
Dang vow of celibacy.
But I like that, like, Obi-Wan gifted her, like, be like, these characteristics you have, these are from your parents.
Yeah.
And to focus on the
That was
good.
a beautiful
That
moment.
was a really sweet moment.
And they did kind of have a moment to help ease the nerd's mind about the whole hologram that she gives Obi-Wan in episode 4, because in the movie it doesn't sound like she knows him at all, but the final conversation is like, we can't have people know that we know each other.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of
the
explained
mind eraser
there.
kind of
Right.
like our secret. You know, yeah.
Yeah.
And so, like,
WandaVision.
you knew my father in the Clone Wars.
You served with my father. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, yes, I did. Both
It's
of
a
them.
And then of course Obi-Wan goes back to Tatooine to live a
Nomadic life.
nomad life. Yep, and
He's like, I gotta get some more fish.
yeah,
He was able to give Luke his spaceship again.
yes.
Yeah, where we see that in A New Hope, where he's like, I'm 19 years old and I'm playing with spaceships because I'm bored.
If you had your Star Wars action figures, you would play with them.
If you were living in Tatooine, would you not be playing with your
Probably.
action figures?
If I didn't have my cell phone, yeah, I would.
I'd be sitting there with my toys, like.
Take that, Darth Vader. Pew, 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 pew. I win for the rebellion. What's your qualifications? Well, I played with my toys all the time on how to defeat. My strategery and military tactics are far superior because of my boredom in the deserts.
Yeah.
You're hired. Here's an X-Wing. Thanks, guys.
Right. I'm gonna go blow up the Death Star now.
Luke, you turned off your computer. Don't worry, guys. I've got this. You're crazy. You just see Leia, like, unravel the bunch. She's like, we're done. Oh, why did I bring this guy? Who gave this guy an X-Wing?
Of course.
How do you go from there,
How do
Jackie?
you go from that? All right, back to a more serious note. Obi-Wan is riding off the distance into the mountains, which, by the way, looks like the scene for the speed
Pod racing?
Pod
It is.
racing.
It's the same canyon.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's
That's a good eye.
I
Yep.
didn't catch that.
And of course, Obi-Wan then sees Qui-Gon.
Which is something they were building up the entire season.
Because
They were-
Obi-Wan's
They
like,
kept going,
Qui-Gon,
Qui-Gon.
word.
He kept calling for Qui-Gon, so you knew it was gonna happen.
I was thinking, like, I still held on to, like, what Liam Neeson says, like, I don't do TV, I do movies. And I'm all like, well, Disney's not doing any movies. Like...
No. But it was really sweet.
It was good.
The line that says, oh, he's like, I was always here. You were just not ready to see me.
Right.
He's like, really? All those days of cutting fish? And you couldn't go like, hang in there, Tramp. I know it's hard. You're almost there.
It's one of those, and that's another one of those things. I want to make a statement to those nerds out there. I don't care that Qui-Gon's not supposed to be a ghost. Just enjoy the fact that you got to see him.
Yeah, just enjoy it.
Forget about the lore from the unseen until Netflix premiered the season of Clone Wars, where you learn that Qui-Gon didn't finish his training.
Oh, yeah. Well, they don't know that. They don't know the full story or anything like that.
Just forget about that and enjoy the fact that you got to see Qui-Gon as a ghost.
Yeah. So, yeah, a lot of people may not like certain aspects of the show, but overall, I think it was great.
It was a fun ride.
Yeah.
What's your rank, Jackie? What do you do, like, Mickey bars out of?
I would give it, a 4. Mickey bar.
I'll give it a 4.5 because I can definitely see myself being like, I'm going to watch this again.
Well, and I watched it again for a second time, and it wasn't as hard as I did for Mandalorian.
I'm a 3.5 on this one. I'm a little bit harsher. There's some things that are like there's some weaker character development with Third Sister, and there's some cheesy moments, and I thought there were too many like moments that took me out.
Sure.
You know, like if I go back to like a good movie like Rogue One, where like I was in it, except for Punny Vader.
Punny Vader, yeah.
That one, I was like, I thought it was funny, but then like Peter brought it up, I was like, yeah, it's not really Vader.
That's not Vader.
But it didn't take me out too much at the moment because I was too into it. But
the closest thing we get to Punny Vader is in Empire Strikes Back, where he's all like, "Thank you, Captain Nida."
Apology accepted.
Apology accepted, Captain Nida.
And he's like, you're like, hey, Vader's savage.
That's about as close as we get to like a Punny Vader
Yeah.
is that line right there.
He's like, I love choking out high-ranking generals and admirals of...
I just love the Robot Chicken short where they're all like, officer training. They're all like, Darth Vader thinks he's got the power to choke us, but if he ever found out that he didn't, he'd just chop us up with his lightsaber. So you've got acting performance. Head back, and then we bring you back out with a nice mustache.
Now, I did have a question about the Star Wars timeline. Do you think Leia and the main character in Rogue One are like about the same age?
I think she's a little older.
I read book. There's a book about what happens before Rogue One, and there was research going on before the Empire.
For the Death Star.
For the Death Star.
Because you see it in Attack of the Clones.
You see it in Attack of the Clones. So the plans are there, and they knew they had to build... They're building the weapon from kyber crystals.
Yeah.
That's what's driving the main weapon system of the Death Star. And the child, before they're locked down by the Empire, she's already kind of like born. I think she's already born. I think she's only maybe like a couple years older. So they're close in age. And you see Princess Leia in Rogue One, and she's 19, because it rolls straight into A New Hope.
Yeah.
So I think they're close.
I think she's a little older though.
I do think she is older.
I was curious. So, all right. Well, that's probably enough Star Wars for this episode.
Never enough.
That was fun. I didn't know I had so much silliness
Comical.
about this.
Yeah. Well, let us know your thoughts on Obi-Wan. let us know if you have any fun theories of what it should have been like. But
Yeah, name what job Obi-Wan's gonna do next.
yeah,
What's his
What next
job?
dirty job is he gonna do? You know, like
that's gonna be a series. Obi-Wan's
History Channel
Dirty
like picks up
Jobs.
that thing.
Obi-Wan's dirty jobs. You got the bantha pooper scooper.
Yeah.
It's not so bad once you get past the smell.
The Tuscan Raider maid. You know, clean up after the Tuscan Raider.
A show dancer,
Yeah.
crazy
good
bed.
dance. Yeah.
Follow us on Instagram, follow us on Facebook. You can email us at matterhornyoders@gmail.com, and you can follow us on Twitter. We post on that, yes?
Occasionally, yes.
Yes, we-
I try to. I put some news out there, and obviously I post links to the episode, and I'll put questions on there with it. So.
Yeah. So if you have Twitter, follow us there. But with all of that, have a magical day.
Thank you for joining us on this week's episode of the Matterhorn Yodelers. Please remember, before your bobsled comes to a complete stop, to follow us on Facebook and Instagram. And remember...
Remain seated, please. Permanecer sentados, por favor.